Hello, my name is Nathaly, and today we are with Alan Shu here in Singapore. We're in this beautiful building, which is, what's the name of this building?
Rapid City.
Perfect. And then we're like having some questions. Yeah, here's some questions about real estate since you've been in the industry for a while, especially related to international buyers. So, what do you think, like the country, is it accepting of international buyers? Is it something that happens all the time, like compared to other countries? If you had any experience?
Okay,
With that?
I've been serving quite a few international buyers in the past 2 years. What I can say for certain is that the influx of foreigners coming into Singapore is getting higher and higher. Earlier today, I got to see some numbers from my agency.
Yeah.
And the number of foreigners buying real estate, residential real estate in Singapore is really indeed increasing. What is interesting is that the number one foreigner is the Chinese buyers.
You keep hearing that.
Okay. Number two, would you want to make a guess?
US?
Definitely US.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good.
And in 2021, the Indians were number three,
Okay,
but in 2022, it was overtaken by the Indonesians.
Indonesia. So nearby.
Yeah, just nearby. I think the interest of Indonesians in Singapore real estate has always been there.
Yeah.
It's just that due to Indonesia government political situation, that they require the residents to declare tax. So there has been a gap in between the past few years, right? But especially ever since COVID happened, what I feel is that on the ground, I feel that a lot of Chinese nationals starts to lose faith in the Chinese government. So instead of parking their asset in the China, they are looking at setting up family offices or diversifying their wealth elsewhere. And Singapore is actually a good place for Chinese nationals to consider. I think mainly because the language is, we speak Mandarin here. So the barrier to communicate is lower. And at the same time, Singapore is relatively safe.
Yeah.
There's no gunning here and there. And what probably also entices them to set up here is also they're looking at education for their kids.
Okay.
Education system here in Singapore is relatively reputable. When they consider all these components, I mean, it is understandable the Chinese wants to talk about it. So, and now,
Do you think they move with their whole families or just for work or just an investment?
on the ground, there are several driving forces that makes them want to shift it there. Some purely look at probably the priority is the child's education needs.
Yeah.
So they'll start by bringing their child here, send them to school.
Okay.
But in the long run, they may think about setting up or getting a home for kids. Some may be thinking about bringing the business over from China and setting up a spot here to set up there.
Okay.
And I think Singapore is also relatively central to most of the important cities within ASEAN.
Yeah.
So that's beneficial, but that's going to. Apart from that, I mean, this is really good. I'm not sure whether I can say this, but
When I'm muted.
but just between you and me or for the audience, money laundering in the world, it's definitely there.
Yeah.
So there are really unseen wealth from some of the ultra-rich people in the world. And one of the easiest way to churn would be to buy high-ticket items such as homes.
Yeah.
So I think I've not come across any.
Let me know.
Okay, but
The government also has all these barriers to prevent that it's always.
the laws here are pretty strict. There are
Yeah.
as well anti-terrorism, anti-money laundering checkpoints that as a realtor,
Like with the mom
yes,
having it.
got to spot that. So yeah, those are some of the latest insights that I have shared with you today. Now, anyway, foreigners can definitely own a home in Singapore. They can buy commercial properties without any hassle. There's no restrictions to own them. But for residential properties, there are certain conditions. For foreigner, by default, they cannot buy the public housing deal, otherwise known as HDB. and by default, they can't own landed properties or buy landed properties in Singapore.
Landed
Say it.
Landed property?
Landed properties such as the semi-D, bungalows. We term them as landed properties. So the condos or apartments, we term them as non-landed properties. So
Bungalows will be like a Singaporean
yes,
or high rises, yes.
high rise, yes, but on the land, there,
On the ground, no. Okay, I see that. Landed property.
except for properties, landed properties that are located within Sentosa.
Sentosa.
That's the only exception that foreigners can buy landed properties in Sentosa.
Oh,
But in a nutshell, there are certain ways to that allows a foreigner to buy, but you need to seek approval first.
okay. You have to become a citizen.
That would be a plus point. But as a foreigner, maybe there are certain reasons why you don't want to be a Singapore citizen.
Okay.
So you can go through an approval process, submitting it to a body called LDA. So I've not come across any of my clients who wants to do that.
It's not necessary to buy property here.
Usually they look at
Local.
the non-landed instead, because as a starting point, they may just want to go in, buy something that's easy to buy without much hassle.
Yeah.
And over time, when you're more settled down, you know the culture here, you know the environment and the community well, you may think about progressing next, upgrade to a landed property thereafter.
Okay. Yes.
So now in Singapore, I think like many other countries, there's usually what we call building under construction.
Yeah.
We call it the new launch condos,
New law.
and then otherwise resale.
So, new construction, pre-sale, like before it gets built, and resale
Resale.
when it's built.
What is built, and so as this. So the market itself for new launch is moving like hotcakes. Until yesterday, the government actually throw in another series of cooling measures. I think this time was this will create an impact on foreigners,
Yeah.
because originally the stamp duty, additional buyer stamp duty, that a foreigner has to pay on top of the purchase price was 30%. But
That's a tax.
that is
Yeah.
the stamp duty, but it's a form of tax. And it has now increased to 60%. Double. So,
That's a fee to acquire property.
yes. So, say for example, if you purchase a property at 1 mil, for a foreigner, they have got two different stamp duty they need to pay. A buyer stamp duty up to 6% of the purchase price.
Okay.
And right now, additional buyer stamp duty, which is 60% of the purchase price. So these two stamps, that's a lot of money.
Do you think that's gonna slow down the market?
I think that's going to slow down for foreigners' purchase, but in general for Singapore market, a matter of fact, about 90% of the local of the purchases are local and PR funds.
Okay.
So personally, in my opinion, the foreigner market will slow down, particularly in high ends. In the mid and the low, those are people who generally buy for real needs. So if there's a real need, they will
To buy to live there.
usually for the ultra high in the higher sector, it's something like own to have it.
Just for fun.
Just fine.
And the other one is like to live because you wanna be in the area that you work and you wanna be close to all else.
So apart from these two costs that I mentioned about, frankly, to buy a property, you just need to account for another legal fee. So maybe you can just set aside about Singapore dollars, about $4,000 for the conveyancing law firm to just settle everything on your behalf.
Okay. Do you think that this law or this extra fee will help you as a citizen here, being able to sell to more local people, or it will just be the same? It doesn't really benefit you.
So matter of fact, I think this stamp duty, additional buyer stamp duty increase is mainly, when I look at it, it's mainly to serve investors,
Yeah.
foreign investors. The government priority is to allow people to buy home for their real needs.
Yeah.
the whole idea behind is to slow down the price because we have been seeing ever since COVID happened, price keep increasing. They see. So I don't think that there will be significant impact in terms of local and PR buyers for the residential real estate. In fact, I think even though this additional buyer stamp duty has an impact for foreigners, but it's only for when they buy residential property. This additional buyer stamp duty doesn't apply if they purchase a commercial or an industrial property.
Okay, so it doesn't really prohibit that to allow the investments if it comes to this.
So they may look at other type of investment choice.
Okay, that's good. And let's say that nearby countries compared to Singapore, like there's Singapore is like a leading in technology, leading in the market, in finances. Do you think that helps or benefits in neighbor countries to either worse, or like is there anything that Singapore leads other countries into, like for example give more jobs to local people, or is there anything like the government is doing to, I guess, help the local economy, meaning that the citizens from here, or at least to prevent immigration or incentive, like motivate?
Maybe I can, there's quite a lot of questions in there. Probably I can address the top of what the government is doing here. There actually is a population white paper that is being published a few years ago. Singapore being a small country, and like Japan and many other countries, what we are facing is aging society, low birth rates, and what this will result in is the country growth will slow down. So where government is not going to allow this, so I'm very certain in time to come, government has to bring in new talents from overseas, and to do that they have to encourage MNCs such as Dyson setting up HQ in Singapore. That's going to create more job opportunities for the local as well as for foreigners. So all these things and concepts have always been in place for many years. And this is one good point about Singapore government. They're always looking far into the future, trying to play the game.
I see that.
And we also see that Singapore being a very small country, what the government is trying to do is also to reclaim land. And this, they call it the Greater Southern Waterfront. So there's going to be a transformation going on very near to the west part of Singapore in Sentosa. And I am certain that in the long run, the government is going to make more projects, perhaps bring in more tourist sites, to bring in more foreigners and tourists into Singapore. The whole idea at the end of the day is to make Singapore, in my opinion, into a nice, livable demo country, so that when tourists come in here, they like it. And there's a chance for them to want to set up base here in Singapore. So I think that's what the government.
It's kind of how the population grow. Do you think that from most of the expats that come here, I don't know if you have this percentage, but how many or what's the percentage that actually stay, or do they have to go back to their country?
I think there's a good mix. I don't really have such data, but from people that I speak to, first of all, I think most foreigners in Singapore, I would say Malaysian is definitely the highest population amount. This was just Cyprus. There are a good mix of maybe I would say 70-30. 70 may want to stay in Singapore, and the remaining 30% may contemplate going back to Malaysia. I think at the end of the day, it really depends on what kind of family support or they have here in Singapore. If they've got kids, in education, family coming up. I think in the long run, they will want to settle. For those without kids, single, or just a couple of them, then you think about going back to Malaysia in the near future. So that's my sense about Malaysia is. But I think in general, Singapore passport actually is quite powerful. So depending on which type of foreigners.
Yeah.
So for example, if you are from Myanmar, given the political situation in Myanmar, you will not want to go back there if you are a Singapore citizen. But let's say if you are from Hong Kong, then status-wise may not be too different Hong Kong or Singapore. Okay? And you may think about going back to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Singapore is very hot. If you are somebody who likes all seasons, you will want to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of factors. Hands on everybody, long-term goals, objective, driving forces that makes anyone stay here.
What do you think is the largest industry in Singapore that attracts more of the foreigners? Is there one that specifically that you think?
I still think right now it's the banking and IT industry. Then moving forward, I feel these two industries will still be the game. The competition, a bit with Hong Kong will be there
Yeah.
in terms of banking industry. And in Singapore, we already see some government setting up some science park for certain industries. There's got a science park in west part of Singapore that does R&D for bioscience. There's also a science park that focuses on engineering stuff. But looking at how the market evolved very quickly, I think there will be a lot of disruptions in the near future, not just in Singapore.
Yeah.
My sense is everywhere.
Yeah. I think I like that shift because anywhere there, their R&D or research parts move to is when it starts like getting more of the population closer there for work and for the projects, school teachers.
Probably, in my opinion, renewable energy would be something that Singapore is very interested in, because we are a country without natural resources, and we can spearhead such kind of technology in Singapore.
Yeah.
I think that will make us very attractive, something which the government will really want.
So do you have any advice for any companies or people out there that are looking at Singapore as a destination for either, investment for residential, commercial, or industrial? Like any advice?
Advice will be very similar to any realtors out there in the world. Before you commit into any purchase or make any firm decision, maybe weigh out the pros and cons.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think it really boils down to the goals and objectives that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
If you are thinking about setting up a business here in Singapore, and look at whether that industry that you are setting up, do we have the talent in terms of communication? Does it resonate well or even communicate well with the HQ? Say, for example, with Korea, is there any language barrier? So those are some of the considerations you have to take note of. Ultimately, Singapore was relatively low tax country.
Yeah.
The barrier to entry is very low. In fact, I'm also part of doing some collaboration work. I'm also doing business integration services and immigration services, so that I can complement.
That's very helpful because you have to help your client in both ways.
So I've been doing it, and one of my latest clients is from Korea. It's quite spectacular because as Koreans, they still set up in UAE. They already set up a company in Singapore.
Okay.
So they're looking at migrating some of the business with UAE to Singapore.
That's great. What's the requirements to become a citizen or resident from Singapore? If you're knowing.
I think there are several different programs. If you have a lot of wealth to spend, I think that would help. The government would definitely welcome foreigners with bringing a lot of cash to invest here.
Yeah.
But if, let's say, that is not an option, end of the day, you got to start from somewhere.
Yeah.
Companies, business owners can start from setting up companies here in Singapore.
Set up a small shop there. You can become our.
I don't say that you got to go through a process. There's no straightforward to get a PR or to get a Singapore citizen.
Yeah.
You got to show some involvement that you're here in Singapore. The government will have to see that at least you are here, not just setting up a business, but you're physically here. for a period of time.
Yeah.
And what are the kind of jobs they are contributing, economic growth they're contributing to the society? They also would like to see how involved, how integrated they are with the community around you.
Yeah.
Like, are you doing sufficient volunteering work? Are you part of any networking group? Because that is the sign that show the government that are trying to integrate.
You're committed.
You're not familiar. Then there are many other factors. Are you paying taxes? Are you hiding your money elsewhere? You know? If you're hiding, then that's not a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know that, the government is open and is friendly for investors. And that will just be the beginning of many, many more like investments coming through.
Ultimately, I think it goes back to the previous topic I mentioned. Is population-wide movement. And Singapore is an aging society. By just depending on local Singaporeans, we're not fast enough to meet productivity. So, and this is why if you look around Singapore for the past few years, if you compare to the last time you came to Singapore, you will notice that the Singapore map is now more complex. In MRT maps, it used to be just red line, green line, that's it. But now there's got brown line, there's got blue line, there's got purple line. So it's something becoming like Japan. So all this infrastructure have to be ready so that they can accommodate more populations here.
Yeah.
So there will be less to stop for.
Well, I mean, like, this is basic questions, but will English be the first language here, or there's another language that is spoken there?
I think, in my opinion, there's no such thing as first language. That's all. The international language is still English. I can speak both Mandarin and English very well. I think at the end of the day, somehow these two languages are the keys. Moving on, anybody want to go global?
Yeah.
I feel that Bahasa, Malay, Indonesian language would be another key language we should look at.
Public usable connection from Singaporeans in Singapore.
Singaporeans?
Yeah, but number.
I think
For the whole population of Singapore.
right now there's something like close to 6. I may be wrong, but really want to Google it up. There was a slight decline when COVID really hit.
Yeah.
I think this number gradually came up after the borders opened up.
So about 6 million in Singapore
Roughly.
with locals and international.
Local, I think this population includes PR.
Okay. And PR means
Permanent residents.
permanent resident.
Permanent residents.
Okay, perfect. That's good to know. Okay. So some of the questions that we have, mostly I'm glad that you have all the, some immigration background as well. Because sometimes in the realtor stuff that either legal and immigration, attached to your, where you already do and help your clients, with properties in every area. It's like a good thing to have, you can help them with it. Holding their hands in the next process that is the longest, besides getting a property here. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Your information will be in the description of the video. And if they want to contact you for anything, they'll have your phone number, email, and then they can reach out to you directly. Appreciate it.
Thank you.